In the last video, we reviewed the app on all screen sizes, and I went on a rant about how, a lot of this was fixed in the design phase and how this issue that you see on the screen here, I wasn't going to spend the developer resources to fix, yada, 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 right? I went on and on about that, and I stand by that. However, I realized that wasn't very helpful to you because there are situations where you will need to, do some fine tuning and some tweaks based on the size of the phone. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that in code. However, my big disclaimer for this is that it should be a last resort. Like I said, with SwiftUI and all their flexible spacing and adaptability, you should be trying to fix these problems at the design phase. Because as you're going to see with this code that I give you, it's easy to use this as a crutch. And you'll see that once we have this in place, and I'll reiterate all this at the end of the video once we're done. So let's stop running our simulator. I just wanted to show you the issue. That's the issue we're going to fix, by the way, right? Where our create profile button, right, is just too jammed up with the keyboard. So we'll stop that, go to your constants file. And below this video, I have a code snippet. Now that code snippet is, the whole thing for all screen sizes. It's actually an older code snippet, as you'll see, but we're gonna, trim it down and tweak it. But I wanted to give you the whole thing and explain how it works so you can adapt it and use it on your own. Okay, so copy that, go to your constants file, the bottom of the constants file, Command V to paste it. So you see device types. So let's walk through this real quick. Well, big picture, the whole point of all this is so I can write something at the call site, if device types dot is iPhone SE, do this, right? So, or if device types dot is iPhone X, do this. And you can see it's dated, right? We have the XS, X Max, XR. So you can see I haven't updated it in a while, but that's fine. I'm going to explain how it works. And you having the knowledge of updating this is going to be important because there's new phones that come out every year and new sizes. So you're going to have to know how to update this. That's why I was fine giving you a slightly older version, to show you that. Anyway, let's walk through this. So this screen sizes enum, this kind of nested one, is just a convenience thing, right? Because anytime I need width, I don't want to have to type out that whole thing every time. Every time I need max length, I don't want to type out that every time. So this is just a little helper, clean things up a bit. Idiom, so UI device.current.userface idiom. You see here, idiom equals .phone, .pad, iPad. This tells you what device you're on. Native scale and scale. This is how you handle the that dreaded zoom mode versus not zoom mode. If you did take a look at that, you'll see how that really messes with apps. And then here's where things really come into play, right? So I have static let is iPhone SE. So the idiom is the phone. Cool, that's what we want. Screen size max length, and that's how this works. This basically takes the length of the screen, compares it to a number. So 568 is the old iPhone SE. That's like the old iPhone 5 version. Like I said, this hasn't been updated in a bit. But basically, if the max length is 568, I know that's the iPhone SE. How do I know that? Well, let's go to Safari and I'll show you some resources. So here I am on a website, PaintCode. It's a product, but they have the ultimate guide to iPhone resolutions. However, it hasn't been updated for iPhone 12, and iPhone 12 has been out for a while, so I'm not sure if this is going to be maintained past this, but you do get all the old phone screen sizes, right? So you see here, the iPhone 5, 5S, all the old stuff, the old SE, you can see the height is 568, right? So that's where I got that number, and then you can see all these height numbers, right? So for the iPhone X and XS here, see it's 812. So this is where I got the height, and there's plenty of other resources to get the height for the new iPhone 12s and iPhone 12 minis to update this. So this is where you get all these numbers. And again, you don't want to look at like, the rendered pixels, right? Because that's the resolution. You want the points size. So that's what UIKit uses for this. So again, it's the height, the 896, the 812, 736, 568. That's where I got those numbers. All right, back to Xcode. So we want to make our change for the iPhone SE and the iPhone 8. Well, those are the same screen size. So I'm actually going to delete this iPhone SE. And I'm going to tell you why I'm deleting all this stuff. Just code philosophy. I don't like having a ton of code in my code base that we'll use like just in case, right? I just feel like that adds unnecessary clutter that's not useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything except for the iPhone 8 standard, because that's the phone screen size we want to handle. So we'll delete all that. And then let me explain the iPad real quick before I delete it. So the iPad is basically the smallest iPad, the iPad mini. Like, I don't even know if they make the iPad mini anymore, is a height of 1024. So basically this is just like all iPads. But if you wanted to specify, all the different sizes of iPads, of course you would look up their height as well. So let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of this. So this static func is iPhone X aspect ratio. So if you didn't know, the old iPhone 8 with the chins on the top and the bottom, and then the new iPhone, X or iPhone 12 with no chins, that has a different aspect ratio. The old iPhone 8s were 16:9, and then this is more of a 2:1. It's not quite 2:1, but it's pretty much. So back in the day, I had to determine the different aspect ratio. And you know, anyway, I was using this way too much. This is why I said this code can be used as a crutch, because I had these conditions in like older code bases back when I was just starting out everywhere. And I realized the hard way that makes your code very confusing, which we'll talk about that later. I'm getting ahead of myself. So really I have the iPhone 8 standard, and that's, you know, native scale equals scale. So that's iPhone 8 non-zoom mode. Again, we're not going to handle the zoom mode. That's like a whole another rabbit hole not to go down. And I'm not using min length here. So we're not using that. And the reason we're doing the max between the width and the height is I believe landscape mode, right? That will do it. But we're not really handling landscape mode. But I'm going to leave that in there. And then now my equal signs are a little out of whack. Okay, so again, quick run through. We have an enum called device types. The screen size is just a helper, so I don't have to type that out all the time. And when we only have one of them, it's not that big a deal. But as you saw, we had a bunch. Idiom, that's how you tell if you're on the phone or the iPad. Native scale versus scale, that's how we tell zoom mode versus non-zoom mode. Here, the only one we're using is iPhone 8 standard. I could say and SE to be specific, but we're just going to leave it iPhone 8. So idiom is the phone. Screen size max length is 667, and then we are at the native scale. Now back to what I was saying about how I didn't like all that code that we weren't going to use, right? And I don't want to keep it there just in case. The key to that, though, is I do want the structure to be able to add to this, right? If I have all this structure and I have this example, I know that if I want to add another phone size, so let's say I wanted to add the iPhone 12 Pro Max, right? The big one, I want to do something, like I have the whole setup. It's very easy for me to add another variable here, you know, but I'm not going to do it. But you see how it's very easy to add on to this. I have the structure. So when I have the structure in place, I like to delete all the stuff I'm not going to use. Okay, just code, philosophy, my opinions. Now let's use this thing. So I'll show you how to use it. So how we're going to fix that, if we go to views, screens, profile view, right? This is where we have this. So let me pull up the simulator again. Let's run it. Okay, go to profile. Let's take a look at this, right? Let's pull the keyboard up, take a look. Well, I could make this smaller. We're not going to mess with that. I could make this first name, last name thing smaller on this phone screen size, but then I'm going to make a lot of, you know, different elements smaller. I think the easiest solution is to get rid of this big navigation bar title style. We'll go back to the inline style up top. So let's do that. We'll stop running that. And here down at navigation title profile, here we can do dot navigation bar title. There's display mode, right? And then here we can do the conditional, right? We can do device types dot is iPhone 8 standard. If that is true, we'll use dot inline, else dot automatic. So now when I run the iPhone 8 again, we should see that problem fixed here. Okay, we'll allow once, cool, profile. Okay, now you see our navigation bar is that inline one. And we hit the keyboard, cool, looks good, good to go. And then let's run this, well, we'll stop this, and then we'll run the iPhone 12 Pro. And I'll show you them side by side just to show you that they do work here. So we have the iPhone 12 Pro over here, iPhone 8 here. Let's pull up the iPhone 8 grub. While that's loading, let's go to the profile. Cool. Okay, now let's wait for the iPhone 12. There we go. Great, got to sign in. Be right back. Okay, we're signed in. If we go to the profile, no user. Am I not signed in on the iPhone 12 Pro? I don't know what's going on. But you see, we got the big profile nav bar compared to the little one on the iPhone 8. So back to the code. You see here, that's what it is. Device types is iPhone 8 standard inline automatic. And again, use this as a last resort because you don't want a lot of this stuff in your code, right? Again, the right answer is to fix it at the design phase, use Swift UIs, you know, flexible spacing, all the stuff, you know, what Swift UI was built for. But again, in the pinch, this is how you would fix it. And like I said, I used it as a crutch. I used to have switch statements in my code where it was like, switch device type, iPhone SE, do this, iPhone 8, do this, iPhone XS Max, do this. And it was not good. Don't do that. I learned the hard way. Don't do that. Use this very, very sparingly. But hey, if you got to do it, here you go.